Colonel West, welcome to San Angelo and to San
good to be
Angelo
back.
Live. Glad to see you back here again.
Yes, sir.
You're here for this fundraising dinner for the Concho Valley Republican Women.
Yes.
And you've got a message for them tonight. But let's talk about your new book.
It came out a year ago, October. It's called Hold Texas, Hold the Nation, Victory or Death. And when you sit back and you look at the trends and the demographic shift that is happening here in Texas, it's almost as if Texas is a victim of its own success, because 10% of the Fortune 500 corporate headquarters are right here in the Lone Star State. As a matter of fact, I live over in the DFW area in Garland, Texas, and Toyota North America has picked up and moved from California and come to Dallas. And the interesting thing is that these corporate business leaders understand why they're moving, why they're leaving California, a place with, the highest state income tax, and, they're looking to tax you for everything. They're looking to tax people for even leaving. They're calling it an exit tax. But yet when they move here, a lot of the employees don't understand why those corporate leaders have made the decision to leave. And so therefore, a lot of them and just others that are just moving to Texas, escaping the policies of failed states like Illinois, New York, New Jersey, are coming here to a place that has growth, opportunity, and prosperity, all because of the right types of legislative policies and principles we have. But then they end up voting like they're back where they just left. And that's the amazing thing that I don't think we talk enough about.
And I think you're right. And what we've seen is with this growth in the energy and industry and technology, what we're seeing is the influx of folks who move here have different values than we do. And I think, and we talked earlier about, we need to share the message of the Republican Party and the conservative view that's made Texas so great.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Well, I think it comes down to each and every one of us as individuals. When we see the new U-Haul van pull up into our street, we take about 24, 40 hours and we go up and we introduce ourselves, take a nice little pie or whatever you want to do. But I think it's important that you kind of get inside people's heads and say, well, welcome to Texas. Why are you here, and what are you looking to do, and where did you come from? Why did you leave there? And that's how you kind of break that ice. But I think another very important thing is that we need to get people to understand what makes Texas special. We need to get the folks to understand why there is only one flag that can fly at the same height as the American flag. And we don't talk a lot about Texas's history to a lot of folks that are moving into here. And we're having a problem last year, September, where you had someone that came up with a brilliant idea to remove the reference of heroic as it applies to the defenders of the Alamo. And being a graduate of the University of Tennessee, that kind of rankled my feathers as well. But if you have people that are coming into Texas and don't believe that the defenders of the Alamo were heroic and they want to seek to remove that from Texas state history books, we got a problem on a local level. And that's where I think we need to start being stronger. We got to come back and start looking and winning those local elections, those city council elections, those school board elections, those county commission elections. And I think that's how you build a farm team from a party perspective, so that now you are growing that talent from the local level and you're going to bring it up to the AA level, which is your state house, state senate, the AAA level, and then you can take it on to the major leagues. So I think that we have to have a wholehearted means by which we go into these communities, especially in the urban centers, because that's the strategy, that's the blueprint for how the left flips a strong red state to a blue state. They come in, they don't care about the rural areas, they don't care about San Angelo, because you guys, they can't flip you guys.
Right.
But they go into these major population centers where all of these technology companies are moving from other places, all of these other business and corporations are moving into.
And we have seen a number of our congressmen decide not to run again,
6.
Especially in West Texas.
Yeah.
And it's Mac Thornbury in the north,
Conway.
and Mike Conway here, and then Will Hurd along the border. And there's some great candidates out there. What do we do? What does the Republican Party do to find success there?
Well, again, I think it's how do you develop that farm team? Much the same as you see in baseball. If a pitcher is struggling, they don't freak out. They go to the phone, they call, or they tap that arm and they get someone in there. Or if your star shortstop is injured, you don't freak out. You just call down to the AAA level or AA level and you bring some stud on up. So I think that we've got to start that process of developing that farm team. I think one of the most important things Republican Party of Texas can do is to start looking at how we have those candidate schools that start to train people up on, how to message, how to develop a platform, how to campaign, how to fundraise. And then we take them in and we let someone like you sit one-on-one. You kind of take them through a media grill school because they're not so all of a sudden freaked out when they get in front of the camera. They know how to interact with the media, and you can play friendly media or you can play opposing media. And so it's those type of things we have to start doing to train up that next generation. And I think it's important, Yantis, that we get on our college campuses and our university campuses, because I want to see more young people here in the state of Texas start off at that single A level with those local political positions, especially school board positions.
That sounds like a great way to start. And we've had a bit of a rocky road with the leadership in Texas, particularly with Speaker Bonin and our own Drew Darby.
Horrible situation. I spent 22 years in the United States Army. Your son was in the United States Marine Corps. And there are three things that leadership is all about. It's honor, integrity, and character. And when I look at Speaker Bonin and the position that he's in as the Speaker of the House of the great state of Texas, we need to have someone of impeccable character and not what we have heard from that tape that just recently came out. So I would, and I've spoken about this, do the honorable thing and resign and step down, because Texas is not about one person. It's not about one person's ego. This state is the linchpin for holding this constitutional republic. And if we don't see that, and everyone that thinks that, it's something that'll pass by, then you're complicit. And as the Pavlovian experiment says, if you reward bad behavior, you're only going to get more bad behavior.
Right. Just a couple more things. The clarion call for the Trump impeachment has taken over the national media.
Of course it has, because that's all they got.
And they've been doing that since he was elected. And of course, there was some of that, not to this extent, for President Obama as well from our side, from the right.
But I would say that there are specific things that President Obama did which hands down were unconstitutional. That, for whatever reason, the left would threaten to say, you can't say that, you can't talk about it. We never went down this path that they're on right now.
Yes.
But we had all the evidence to do so. I mean, when you talk about the Iranian nuclear agreement, that did not go through the treaty process through our Senate. That was a unilateral declaration. When you talk about abandoning Americans to die in a combat zone, the Benghazi Islamic terrorist attack, and then lying about it, to me, that's an impeachable offense. When they talk about Russian collusion, here's a man, President Obama, that said, when I get reelected, I have more flexibility. Well, what does that mean? And so now all of a sudden we have had I call it the new McCarthyism. I mean, it is a wholehearted campaign of, allegations and unsubstantiated assertions to try to destroy a sitting United States president that started even before he became president. And so what I think the left in America is saying is that we don't care about the democratic process. We wanted our person to win, and by golly, Oscar, we're going to do everything we can to remove this person. They're not even worried about campaigning. When you look at their debates, it's a clown car show, because all of these things that they're proposing are absolutely antithetical to who we are as American people. Open borders, decriminalizing crossing into our border. I mean, if you don't believe in the national sovereignty of America, what do you want to be president of?
Right. And the Democratic presidential nomination process at this point, from a conservative Republican standpoint, I think it would be let them keep talking.
Absolutely. When I hear people say, "I wish Nancy Pelosi would, be quiet. I wish, Ocasio-Cortez, no one would listen to her," I want them to talk. I want them to completely expose themselves and show exactly who they are, because that makes the choice that we have to make as Americans so simple. And I believe that maybe 35, 40%, They want to have that. The gun control thing, gun confiscation, which is people control.
Yes.
Maybe there are people that want that, but most Americans say that's an infringement upon my liberty. I mean, if you're telling me I don't even have the right to be able to defend myself, and look, every single socialist dictator that the world has ever known, the first thing they did was they disarmed the populace.
Yes.
And that's exactly what they're talking about here.
We have finally, we have a constitutional amendment election coming up in November. And one of the biggest things on there is the ability to ban an income tax.
Yeah. And it's very interesting how that's worded. And that's part of the education of folks, because someone may go in there and vote the wrong way. But think about this, Yantis. A week ago, we found out that California, the state with the highest personal income tax in the United States of America, 13%, also has the highest poverty rate in the United States of America at 20%. 1 in 5 Californians at or below the level of poverty. Now, that's probably not even including the folks that are homeless and illegal immigrants. So if this whole thing about higher taxes works so well, then why the incubator of progressive socialism, California, has the highest poverty rate of any state? And that comes back to what we started out talking about. How is it that all of a sudden here in the state of Texas, we now have a ballot initiative that we have to vote on that talks about us having a state income tax?
That is amazing that we've gotten to this point.
Yeah.
Leadership in the Republican Party of Texas. We're going to meet in June in Houston.
May.
In May.
In May. 11th through the 16th of May, state convention.
And you are going to be running for chairman.
Yes, I am.
And why is that?
Because I don't like losing. I did not come to the state of Texas to lose. And just like all Tennessee volunteers, we come here for a fight. In the 2018 election cycle, we lost 12 state House seats. We lost 2 state Senate seats. We lost 2 U.S. congressional seats. We lost 56 judgeships. And the judgeships are most important.
That's exactly right.
Because what they can't do through the legislative process, they do through judicial activism. Plus, you have the census coming up. So we got to stop this. The fact that you have people like Nancy Pelosi coming into the state of Texas 3 weekends ago saying that we're going to turn Texas blue and it's going to be wholesome for America, we got to shut that down. The fact that we have someone like a Representative Joaquin Castro that is blacklisting people that are donors to the president and we don't do anything about it, we got to shut that down. The fact that we got Bob Frank O'Rourke running around talking about how he's going to take, the tax-exempt status away from churches that, don't want to embrace same-sex marriage, we got to shut that down. And the only way you shut it down, you meet them on the ideological battlefield and you fight them like hell.
Well, that sounds great. Carl West, thank you for your time.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you for coming to
Thanks
San
for
Angelo
having
Live.
me. My pleasure.